My story begins with my boyfriend Eric, a 24-year-old guy I had been dating for nearly 8 months. While our relationship seemed promising, Eric had never really had a stable girlfriend before. Most of his past relationships were short-lived flings, making me feel lucky to have made it this far. However, things took a turn which made me question the strength of our bond. A significant factor in Eric's life was his best friend Olivia, also 24. They had been inseparable since childhood, having known each other since they were just 10 years old. They attended the same schools, went through college together, and even found work at the same place. To say that Eric relied heavily on Olivia would be an understatement. He often confided in her about decisions, major and minor, and prior to dating me, Olivia always had the final say, or rather the Olivia approval, on who he dated. It wasn't until 4 months into our relationship that he revealed this dynamic, which made me reconsider my earlier acceptance of his proposal for a first date. If I'd known about his dependence on her, I might have thought twice. My relationship with Olivia had started on somewhat neutral ground. We'd met a few times and kept things civil, but I always sensed a strange undercurrent. Whenever the three of us hung out, it felt like she was subtly reminding both of us that Eric was her priority. Despite my efforts to build a rapport with her, it became clear that she wasn't interested in having me as a part of their friendship. As time passed, competition and tension brewed beneath the surface, particularly on my end. After all, establishing myself as someone Eric cared about made me a rival to Olivia. The situation escalated about 5 days ago when I fell ill. Living alone and feeling miserable, I reached out to Eric for help, something I typically wouldn't do but needed at that moment. Hesitantly, he admitted he had plans with Olivia to catch a movie and grab lunch. Hearing that felt like a punch to the gut. I was sick and needed him, but Olivia came first. Frustrated, I told him he could just date her instead and hung up. Despite the anger, a part of me hoped he would choose to come over, and he did, canceling his plans and even bringing homemade soup. We spent the day together, and I started feeling better, unaware that my actions were about to backfire. The following day, however, Eric ghosted me. No calls, no messages, which left me panicking. When midnight struck, he finally called, but this time his tone was unfamiliar, serious and upset. After brief pleasantries, he dropped a bombshell. He wanted to end our relationship. He labeled my behavior as a series of red flags, asserting it was hard for him to come to this decision, but he felt he had no choice. I was baffled. Nothing about our relationship screamed red flag to me, especially given how good the previous day had been. Confusion turned into anguish, compounded by the fact that he immediately blocked me, leaving no room for explanation or closure. Days passed as I wallowed in heartache, replaying our last interactions, desperate for answers. I couldn't fathom why he would accuse me of being problematic when all I had done was care. The thought of Olivia, however, crept back into my mind, making me wonder if she had stirred the pot. Finally, Eric contacted me again, this time sounding frantic and apologetic. He confessed Olivia had pushed him to break up with me, claiming that he was prioritizing me over her, which presented a massive red flag in Olivia's eyes. Eric explained how Olivia manipulated him, painting my care and affection as attempts to control him. Furious that he had let her influence his decisions, I was torn between emotions. The truth was that he didn't have the strength to stand up to Olivia, and now he wanted me back because he was suddenly recognizing her manipulation. Part of me wanted to respond positively, but I was infuriated by the fact he didn't think for himself. In his eyes, it seemed, Olivia's opinions mattered more. As Eric continued to plead for my forgiveness, I could barely contain my anger. I thought our breakup was my fault, but it became crystal clear that he was the one allowing Olivia to steer his relationship decisions. The idea of concealing our relationship from her was a deal-breaker. I had no intention of being in a secretive position because of her. I was done. Feeling vindictive, I made an unusual demand of Eric. If he wanted me back, he had to confront Olivia and assert his independence. I needed him to tell her that she couldn't control his life. Surprisingly, he hesitated, but ultimately agreed. As soon as he messaged her, I blocked him, satisfied that I had finally stood up for myself. Days passed without contact from either Eric or Olivia, and I felt a tinge of guilt for my request. Yet, discussions with friends reassured me that I hadn't forced his hand. The choice had been his. It didn't take long for news to spread that Eric and Olivia were now officially dating. Their revelations reminded me that they were perfect for each other, given their manipulative tendencies. Fast forward a week, and I found solace in the arms of new potential love. My only concern was ensuring that this new guy didn't come with a controlling best friend like Olivia. I had paid my dues in the drama department, and it was time to focus on healthier relationships. In conclusion, my experience taught me about the complexities of dependence and relationships. Eric's inability to choose for himself highlighted a deeper issue, a red flag greater than anything he ever accused me of. I took control of my fate, and in doing so, realized that self-worth must take precedence over toxic dynamics. The past is behind me, and I am excited about the new paths ahead.